Coming up on Kochie's Business Builders, we show a candle business how to turn social media into a moneymaker. You'll be inspired by the story behind the iconic Sydney Grounds of Alexandria and lessons from the legend behind Rode microphones. Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of Kochie's Business Builders. We are jam-packed with advice and inspiration to make you more successful. Now, innovation is a bit of a buzzword. It gets thrown around a lot by business, by government, even myself. But the small business, it really is crucial. I read a report recently that said 65% of kids in primary schools today will have jobs that don't even exist yet. And CEDA, the Committee for Economic Development of Australia, predicts that 5 million jobs are likely to be automated by 2030. Now, while that might sound daunting, for small business, this presents a massive opportunity to transform the way we operate. After all, we can work faster, be more nimble, and come up with new ways of working faster than our big business competitors. Today, we find out how and why the Grounds of Alexandria got started. It's a great backstory that will have you close to tears. Then I answer another burning viewer question, and Peter Freedman from Rode Microphones gives us his quirky tips for success. But first up, Samara and Mila Candles get some advice on developing their digital weapons from our fabulous digital marketing agency. Let's get straight into it.
So Marie, this is my little warehouse here.
Excellent.
Which I make all my candles, as you can see.
Beautiful.
I do everything from the packaging to shining all the copper and so forth, and I do it all by hand, and I personally do it myself.
Whilst 10 years ago the scented candle market in Australia was non-existent, today the Australian sector is worth $200 million every year. And every high street gift shop has a selection.
Samara Miller started about a year ago. I had a bit of a tragedy in my life where my best friend passed away with cancer. So it made me really reevaluate where I was going, what I wanted to do. I just really wanted to do something different.
Like many small businesses, Dee has struggled with identifying her niche in a saturated market.
A niche market is really important for businesses because it allows them to hone in on a segmented group of people and develop marketing messages that align with their brand so that their followers become their biggest advocates. So there are 5 things that we need to do in order to develop a niche market. The first is to really understand your product and positioning. The second is to identify and develop that ideal customer and their personas online. The third is to understand what motivates these people to purchase your products. The fourth is to develop that story. And the fifth is to remain consistent and constant over a various range of platforms. 5
great steps there, but where do you start?
My first step would be to understand how the product is in its current market. So its price, product, place and position. What are people looking for when they come to purchase one of your candles? How are they expecting to purchase it? Where do they expect to purchase it and for how much? So once you understand your position in the market, you can then take that and understand where you are in relation to your competitors.
And then, after you've defined your product and position, you should look at your ideal customer and developing their persona.
So for yourself, there is actually a new defined kind of market out there called the digital mum. So the digital mum, they focus on accessing information online. In about 55% of all cases, they'll access information online before they make a decision to purchase. On average, about 70% of them actually curate content per month themselves on their social media platforms. So if you do acquire them as a customer base, you are able to hopefully get their friends involved as well so that they want to share their story about how they purchased your brand.
Oh, okay.
So after you've, I guess, created your position and product, and you found out who your ideal customer is and their persona, you really need to develop your story. So what we need to understand is what's behind the brand and what makes it tick. And you can do that in various ways online by having your website have content funnels, describe your story in segments that are easy to manage. So being able to understand what motivates someone to purchase your product will enable you to be able to position it better so they can find it and access it and, commit.
Great.
We'll come back for some more powerful digital guidance from Marie, but now it's time for news you can use. The latest figures from the Australian Bureau of Statistics reveal a 25% uplift in sole traders. That's more than 70 new businesses a week. As you build your business from the ground up, the feeling that you're going at it all alone is very real. But it doesn't have to be this way. There are now more than 140 collaborative co-working spaces scattered in Australian capital cities and regional hubs catering for those in need of desk space and the latest tech tools. The number of co-working spaces has grown from 9,000 seats in 100 cities at the beginning of 2012 to over 51,000 seats in 626 cities worldwide. A great co-working space comes with everything you need to get your business off the ground and running. All your standard operational costs are shared with other members of the space, which means you save on costs, share resources, and might even meet some great like-minded people there as well. Ramsey Choker started the Grounds of Alexandria after losing everything. After the break, we find out how he turned tragedy into something positive. Whether you own a business or not, this guy is a true inspiration. Stay tuned. The Grounds of Alexandria is a Sydney institution, often with queues of people lining up to get a table or just to take a look around. Founder Ramsey Choker describes it as more than a hospitality business, but an estate with lots of spaces to connect with loved ones. And believe me, it is such an experience going there. Ramsey borrowed money off a mate to get it started, and today the grounds serve over 15,000 customers a week. But the business was born out of a family tragedy, and you can really see just how driven Ramsey is to keep it a special place.
To understand the ground story, you need to understand my past. My father was this phenomenal entrepreneur, and basically at a very young age, I grew up around business, and he owned this food service business supplying bars, clubs, hotels with dry and frozen goods. So you can say that business and hospitality has been in my blood from a very young age. In 2008, when the GFC happened, my whole family was hit financially and emotionally, and especially my father. His business that he'd been growing for 30 years and been building for 30 years, a disaster happened. He even ended up getting cancer back then and ended up passing away. So the grounds was born out of a need and desire to look after my family out of losing everything that he ever built. What I look back now has built me into the person I am today. You know, you got to be hungry. You got to have a need and desire to do something great. You got to want to do something that is truly true to yourself. You got to be able to create this vision in your mind, and you got to be able to want to go after it and really truly believe in what you're going to create and build for the community. I remember I went to the landlord in Alexandria that owned the current site that the grounds is in, and I said, look, I want to create this vision that I've got in my head. I want to create this place. And he was like, okay, what do you want to create? And I said, look, I'll be back to you in 4 weeks. I want to create this special place. So I went to my sister, Caroline, who's my designer, and I said, Caroline, look, I don't know how I'm going to pay you. I need to create these renders of this place that was currently, I didn't even know the name back then, of this vision and these ideas that I got in my head. So she basically created this 3D renders of the cafe and the garden. At that time, no one basically had a garden in Sydney that had chickens and animals. And anyway, she drew it up and rendered it up for me, and I sent it to the landlord. And then the next day he rang me up. He goes, oh my God, this is amazing. You know, you need to start, you need to build it, you need to create it. This is what we need in Alexandria. And I was like, shivers, how am I going to do this? I've got no money. I don't know how I'm going to build this. Part of the evolution stage was, you know, because we were restricted in the amount of money, I was always very smart in terms of how I watch my cash flow, and how I watch my turnover, how I watch my margin. So I didn't have a lot of money to play with in terms of how do I make it evolve, how do I make it better. So I went to Bunnings and I bought this $200 barbecue and basically started creating this barbecue for the people that were waiting outside the grounds. And it was basically out of $200, it's helped me build this $1 million barbecue that is here in the grounds today. From the day dot, I would have thought that we were only going to serve, you know, maybe 3,000 people a week, and now we're up to serving 15,000 people a week. I think the biggest lessons I learned from my father was to never, ever, ever give up. No matter how bad things get, no matter if your business goes broke, he always tried. He always tried to get back on top, you know. I've seen his drive, his hunger, his desire to be able to do something great again. And no matter how long the dark lasts, the light will come as long as you make the choices to be able to look for the good. Business is about growth. Business is about contribution. Business is about figuring out how to make things better. I wanted to leave something truly memorable for my father, you know, all the lessons I learned from him, and I didn't want to make sure that his life went to waste out of what he went through and the heartaches of losing his business, the heartache of him passing away from cancer. I wanted to truly create something that was memorable for not only me, for my customers as well. And I wanted to make sure that I built a business that people love, not only the customers, but my people internally that really cherish where they work and love what they're doing. When I set out to do business, I didn't want to just create a hospitality business. I didn't want to create something where customers just come and get food or drink or beverage. Anyone can do that. I wanted to do something that was truly meaningful, that was truly inspiring. I wanted to do something for our country that is truly great.
Coming up, we get back to Samara and Mila getting great tips from KBB Digital's Marie Nowdy. If you're not sure what you should be doing with social media, then stay put. Plus, business lessons from Peter Freedman. Catch you soon. Earlier in the show, Marie Nowdy spoke to Dee Leacher about how to identify a niche market for her boutique candle business. You don't need to continually reinvent your brand. However, every business should revise their strategies to keep up with savvy new entrants that penetrate the market.
In the last 2 years alone, we've seen so many things happen with the likes of mobile and Facebook and targeting and website design. So it's really important that I guess you're forging partnerships with organisations that are always looking at the next step. So for example, we know that adults aged 18 and above spend an average of 35 hours per week accessing the internet via their mobile phones, compared to 25 hours on PCs. So we really want to be making sure that we're staying ahead of the curveball here by designing a website or having an experience on mobile that is taking it to the next step.
And some tips for helping you create a mobile-friendly website is to take into account navigation.
And how many clicks it takes the purchaser to go from your homepage to a product page and then through to the purchasing cycle. So you really want to make that process as easy as possible. We know that we've got about 4 seconds to make an impression, but that actually reduces a lot on mobile.
Obviously, I'm still familiarising myself with Instagram and so forth.
Yes.
But I find, and I've been told, that a lot of people actually pay for followers.
But the problem is when you buy them, they don't do anything for the brand. It's just the number that sits at the top there saying how many followers you have. You really want to create an organic following. And you can do that through hashtagging as people search those through their phones and mobile devices.
And when it comes to how much you should be posting, Marie has this handy tip.
You don't want to bombard people. You don't want to be putting posts up about sale items or how much a candle costs. They can go to their website for that. Social media is definitely where they engage in that two-way communication. Sure. Find the point where people stop reacting to a post. There are many social media channels, but the important thing is that you really need to find where your demographic or your niche market sits in those, because there's no point in having a profile across them all if only 2 of them speak to the people that you're wanting to target.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, what great tips Marie shared with Samara and Mila today. Really sound advice about developing a niche, selling the story behind the brand, and letting social media followers be your biggest advocates. And how interesting was that statistic Marie shared about mobiles. Adults over 18 spend 35 hours a week accessing the internet via their mobile phone. I see it all the time. We've all got our heads buried in our phones. So it really does make sense to ensure your site is mobile optimised and that you're on the social channels your customers are looking at.
Hi, I'm Peter Freedman from Rode Microphones, and I have 2 tips for you in business when you're starting out. One, never borrow money. I know it sounds funny, but it'll get you into trouble. Try and be clever. Use other people's money with credit, but don't borrow money to get your business established. You'll spend it, you'll lose it, you'll be in trouble. And also remember, business is outside of your office. It's not at home, it's not in your office, it's out there. It's painful, you've got to walk the streets, use the shoe leather, but that's sales, and you'll find out what it takes when you are out there.
Coming up after the break, tech guru Val Quinn shares a practical tech tip and I answer a tricky viewer business question. Here's a clue: swooping magpies. Don't go anywhere. Hey, thanks for joining us today. We've had a great time. Now, people start small businesses for all sorts of reasons: freedom, control, following a passion, filling a gap in the market. But today's story of Ramsey Choker's desire to look after his family by creating the Grounds of Alexandria was nothing short of inspiring. But it's not time for goodbyes just yet. I've got to answer a viewer video question, and Val Quinn's back for a quick tech tip.
Improving your business's performance with ease and affordability can be done using automated marketing software. One solution is HubSpot. Now, it's an inbound marketing and sales platform that helps businesses attract visitors, convert leads with ease, and close sales. Rather than having 7 different marketing accounts, you can manage your content, channels, and performance using just one dashboard. The cost of HubSpot's social media analytics, integrated SEO, and A/B testing of calls to action starts at $200 a month. With a similar startup cost, Infusionsoft is another platform that combines CRM, sales, social media marketing, and e-commerce tools into just one package. For a paint business or wedding photographers, it's great for managing customer relationships. You can send personalized messages and quotes to every lead based on their behavior, helping drive conversions.
Welcome to Ask Kochie. Our video today comes from Michael Wignall. He's got a great question. Let's have a look.
Hi, my name's Mike. The company is Swoop Away Helmet Brim. And my burning question is, I have designed a brim for a bicycle helmet, effectively turning it into a wide brim hat. This is protection against sun, or more effectively for magpie season, which is happening. Now, the way the brim attaches to the helmet is unique. I've searched and not found another product like it. The area of patents and designs are a labyrinth for a small business with a new design. So my question is, can you assist in finding the best way possible to protect my product?
Michael, terrific question. Great business. Everyone's heard a magpie swoop horror story. I used to have an ice cream container on my head when I was a kid to ward it off. Yours sounds much more fashionable. Now, intellectual property can be a small business's most undervalued and ignored asset. So it's fantastic you're thinking about protecting your idea. Intellectual property can include patents, trademarks, copyright designs, and domain names, to list just a few. Now, Michael, your first port of call should be to the IP Australia website. They have a great online platform to help guide you to the type of protection you need. You can also apply and register for IP rights using their site. It's a one-stop service. Now, you mentioned patents and designs. In Australia, there are 2 types of patents granted: the standard and an innovation patent. Now, the standard patent gives you long-term protection up to 20 years and control over an invention. It must be new, involve an inventive step, and be able to be made or used in an industry. An innovation patent lasts up to 8 years and is more suitable for inventions with a shorter market life. They can be used to protect inventions that don't meet requirements for a standard patent. Now, there's also the provisional application, which works as a placeholder, if you like, and helps you get the earliest possible priority date on your invention. It shows your intention of filing a full patent later, so you must apply for a patent, standard or innovation, within 12 months of filing your provisional application. Now, when it comes to designs, this includes the shape, the pattern, configuration, or ornamentation of something. Design registration can take up to 3 months to process and lasts for 5 years from the date your design is filed. You might also, though, want to consider getting some legal advice. An IP lawyer can be beneficial, but be sure to weigh up the cost because it can be expensive. And when it comes to telling potential investors or partners about the ins and outs of your product, only give them need-to-know information and maybe get them to sign a confidentiality agreement. Good luck, Michael. To stay on top of the latest small business news, tips and stories, don't forget to head to the Kochie's Business Builders website, and all the information is there. Coming up next week, find out how to take your business from wholesaler to direct to public. Go behind the scenes with marvellous monogramming brand Daily Edited and get some great business lessons from another legend. Hey, thanks for dropping by the KBB YouTube channel. If you want a whole lot more where this came from, press the subscribe button and it will open a Pandora's box of great videos that not only are educational, full of great advice, but also really inspiring. Just what we need as small business owners.